Can the Jade Giant overcome his inner demons and crawl his way out of hell? And if so, what lies beyond? Well, let's hop into the pages of Immortal Hulk issue number 13 and number 14 and find out for ourselves, shall we? Alrighty then, so picking up from where the last issue had left off, the Hulk and Banner had been separated. This is pretty bad because the Hulk is getting rushed by a bunch of undead monsters. His power has been severely drained by a foe who actually gets a name this issue, and wouldn't you know it, it's the One Below All, and yes, that is a reference to the Marvel God character, the One Above All. And you know what, the Hulk might not actually have been strong enough to win this fight here were it not for the late intervention of Rick Jones, aka A-Bomb. Yeah, it would seem that even after meeting a rather sad and untimely demise in the pages of Secret Empire and actually losing a lot of faith in the superhero community, Rick Jones still has a love and admiration for Bruce and the Hulk. And I mean, he's technically not wrong when he says that in one way or another they've always been there for him. Now it's in this issue too, Absorbing Man and Puck from Alpha Flight actually come back in a really big way. Puck goes into great detail talking about gamma radiation, and how as far as he's concerned it exists in a rather interesting place between science and magic. It can do amazing things that science can't explain, and it can clearly only be harnessed fully completely by a very small group of people, so it might as well be magical. Now, Crusher Creel feels pretty bad about being partly responsible for everyone getting dragged down to hell, and because of that, in keeping with his good character development, he chooses to actually challenge the One Below All wearing Bruce's dad's skin. Turns out Crusher actually read about Banner Sr. when he was in prison, and if anything, he genuinely felt kinda sad for Banner. Crusher had a dad who used to beat him too. The only difference is one day Crusher got so big and strong he could beat him back. Now, no, that doesn't mean the Absorbing Man is dumb enough to pick a fight with the actual Satan, but he doesn't have to fight. In fact, he just has to do what he's best at, and that is absorb energy, closing the portal that the One Below was trying to create. And in doing so, actually allowing the Hulk to get his own strength back so he can turn the tide of battle and help everyone escape, which he was gonna do, but obviously he can't leave without saving Banner. This actually leads to a rather touching scene wherein the Hulk admits that he needs Banner and that one way or another he always ends up being his protector despite his more villainous actions of late. They end up joining back up and managing to escape before the rest of Gamma Flight can get back together. They might not have been able to capture the Hulk the way they wanted, but Crusher Creel has a brand new job on Gamma Flight, so there's that. Now, after going to literal hell fighting the ghost of his father and coming to terms with some really horrible revelations about what the Hulk could potentially be, Bruce is understandably in a pretty damn terrifying glass cage of emotion right now, and who does he choose to look to in this situation? Well, the only woman who ever made him feel safe, Betty Ross. And as we head into the next issue, the entire story shifts to be about what Betty's been up to. First and foremost, she has to bury her father, Thunderbolt Ross, who was killed in the pages of Captain America. And it should come as no real surprise she's a little conflicted about her father's death and his legacy. They weren't exactly close, never really saw eye to eye, but at the end of the day, he was still her father and an American patriot and a former Avenger, as well as a former supervillain, obsessive, and oh yeah, that's right, he also died while servicing the enemies of America, so yeah, complex relationship to say the least. The only person from the Avengers that even bothers to come to the funeral is Iron Man, and that's really more of a symbolic gesture than anything else. But if Betty's relationship with Stark is awkward, then her relationship with Fortin, her father's protege, is even more awkward. He comes to the funeral to more or less threaten her, and we're thoroughly reminded that even though General Thunderbolt Ross might be gone, Shadowbase, the group he set up for the sole purpose of hunting down the Hulk while also giving him plausible deniability, is still very much around and still very much committed to evil. In fact, they might be more dangerous now than ever, as Fortin basically wants to avenge his surrogate father Ross by any means necessary and redoubles their efforts to get the Hulk. Now, when Betty gets home from the funeral, she's shocked to find Bruce waiting on her doorstep. This was a very dumb move on his part, but he has very few moves left, don't you know? Bushwhacker has followed Bruce to this place, but he can't take him out while Betty's in the crossfire. If nothing else, though, the former Red She-Hulk proves to be much more resourceful than you might have guessed, having saved up a bunch of tech from her old super jobs. She's not happy to see Bruce, after all, much like like her father, they have had a very complicated relationship filled with a lot of love, a lot of hate, a lot of betrayals, a couple attempted murders. But Bruce has come here hat in hand after all. His trip to hell has shown him what's really important, but moreover than that, he has a whole laundry list of things he wants to apologize for, why they even mentioned the role he played in the Secret Empire. Which, you know, as a continuity junkie, I'm really happy to hear that addressed and that Bruce does remember that that happened. Eventually, though, Bushwhacker gets an itchy trigger finger and figures he better start this fight now, feeling pretty good about his odds of taking down the Hulk. Unfortunately, his bullet goes wide and ends up hitting Betty instead. And if you think you've seen the Hulk before, let me tell you, you ain't seen nothing yet. Baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. Hulk's ready to absolutely tear Bushwhacker limb from limb, yet surprisingly he gets stopped by a mysterious voice who seems to have been narrating this whole issue up until now, and that is his own personal doctor, Doc Samson. Well, I mean, to be fair, the Hulk is probably like a decade late for his regular checkup, so maybe it's good they're meeting now. And so that was the Immortal Hulk, everybody, issue number 13 and number 14, and once again, this series continues to take the Jade Giant to some truly interesting places that I would not have considered. Al Ewing has worked really hard to set up an interesting new status quo for the Hulk, benched in more paranormal horror, and now that it seems that that story is winding down, he's bringing back a bunch of Hulk's old relations. It's nice to see Betty Ross back in a Hulk book, but more importantly than that, it's nice to see her being a fully formed, fully activated character, something we haven't gotten for a very long time, why they even tease the potential return of Red She-Hulk. Overall, I'd give these two issues an 8.5 out of 10. Really solid stuff, cannot wait to see where it's going.
Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not take a look at some of these other videos I have available from the channel. Then you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Cape Joel, so you're always up to speed on what I'm doing next. And hey, if you're feeling in a charitable mood, why not check out my Patreon page. Patrons get exclusive access to videos and content before anyone else, and you can do so for as little as $1 a month. So until next time everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I will be continuing to make more comic book videos that smack of greatness. Bye-bye.